Check one, two, three. In the place to be. Welcome to another edition of Should My Money Be Scared? And let me get that off of there. One moment. See, we have, different technical difficulties, but we work through it though. It's no problem. There we go. All right. My apologies. But welcome to another edition of Should My Money Be Scared with Agent Cory Banks. And today we have a special edition of Should My Money Be Scared? There's a lot of questions that some people have been asking me, and I want to make sure I get some people on to ask some of those questions. And also, we're going to talk about some different opportunities that we have right now in the market as well, based off of um, things that's happening with the CARE Act, things that's happening um, just with the some of the loan products that's coming out, and also just dealing with Harmony lenders. So we're going to talk about those things as well. Um, if you have any comments, if you have any comments or questions, please make sure you put them in the comment section so they can be asked, and I'll make sure we'll talk about those as well. Um, we air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We go live at 4 o'clock. And so far, we've had different investors, uh, rehab investors. We've had a few mortgage lenders, a hard money lender, title company, and we're just talking about different things that's surrounding the real estate industry surrounding COVID-19. Um, and actually, I have some people waiting right now. Um, just a few people that's decided that they wanted to come on and ask some questions, and we can just talk about a few things. Um, let's get right into it. Matter of fact, let's get right into it. So let me bring up. You see, we have Frank Little here. Frank, can you hear me? Wait a minute. Give me a second. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Now?
There you go. Frank.
Yeah, can you hear
There,
me?
there you go. Had
All
a tough
right, all
time hearing you at first. There you go. It's live, so we work through stuff. We
right.
get through it. How are you today?
I'm all right. No complaints. No complaints. How are you?
Man, I am amazing. I'm amazing. That's the best way I could put it. Um, have you how are you making out with your business? So Frank, tell the people what you do.
Well, I am a buying and listing agent and also an investor. I, along with you, work for Keller Williams Legacy. I'm a member of the Wilson Home Group. So pretty much anything from first-time home buyers, investors, and things like that. I indeed use my expertise to help them purchase their next home.
Okay. And now I understand you have some questions that's surrounding the industry while we're going through this pandemic. What questions did you have?
Well, the question I wanted to come on and ask you today is about investing. I myself
Okay.
am an investor. I'm a buy and hold guy. Pretty
Hmm.
much that's been my strategy since I've been in the game. But I've had some clients now because interest rates are low. I have some
Hmm.
first time investors. And what I wanted to do is ask you, what would you recommend or how would you recommend first time investors to get into the game? How could they come in and use the resources that they have to use it to get the low interest rates and things of that nature?
Okay. Well, there's a actually, and like I said, I'm gonna talk about some of those opportunities because of the fact that there are some opportunities right now for new investors or really just any investor that's in the game right now. Um,
Hmm.
for instance, right now, and I'm gonna pull up the screen in a moment. Right now, with the CARES Act, there's a situation, and let me get to that. The CARES Act has, as soon as I get to it, there we go. So the CARES Act has it set up to where you can pull out 100% of your 401k up to $100,000 without penalty. Your 401k, your 403b without penalty. Why is that? Why is that important? Because of the fact that if if you're able to pull out, let's say you have $70,000, or you know somebody that has $70,000 in their 401k, their 403b, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to pull out this money with no penalty up to $100,000. Now you can actually be a cash buyer. Get what I'm saying? Now you
Okay.
pay. Now you can actually be a cash buyer purchasing properties and using your retirement funds in order to do that. Now, what you're going to do is, of course, you can either fix that property up, you may rent that property out, what have you, and then refinance on that property if you're looking to be a buy and hold investor. Refinance on that property, and now you have it fixed up to the market standards, right? So
Okay.
let's say you purchased the property at 70,000, or let's say you purchased it less than 70,000 because you put out 70, right? So that would, and let's say you purchased it at $30,000. I'm just throwing out numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Purchased the property at $30,000, and you put in about 30,000 into the property, right?
Mm-hmm.
This property, more than likely, if you did your numbers correctly, let's say that property is worth 140, $150,000 after repair value. Now you go to refinance that property. Normally you're getting about 75% loan to value. Now you just cashed out that property. You purchased the property free and clear with that 401k that you pulled out with no penalty. Now you're actually you can put more money back in because once you refinance, you got 70,000 plus a little bit more as well. And you have an investment that's cash flowing every month. Does
Okay.
it? So that's just one thing. Um, Now the other thing that's happening with that with the CARES Act, with the 401k with the 43b and the 401k, the good part about it, they have spread it out to where you can pay on the taxes for the next 3 years. So you have 3 years to pay it back, and spread the tax implications out evenly over those 3 years, right? Now the other thing is you can actually go with the 401k loan, which is different from just pulling out your 401k because you're going to borrow against your 401k. The difference is if you pull out the money out of your own 401k, you don't have it's not required for you to pay that back because it's your money, right? But if you take a loan out against your 401k, you are required to make that to pay that back. And I believe is up. Don't quote me, but I believe you have up until about 5 years to pay it back completely before they add taxes to that. Because you already know if you're loaning money or borrowing money rather, you're not paying taxes on borrowed money.
Yeah.
But if you don't
Well,
pay it within that
I
five
think
years,
that's contingent upon the plan. I agree. The 5 year time period that you're talking about is contingent upon which plan that you have.
right?
Okay. All right.
So that's just the, and I'm gonna talk about some other things as well. But that's just one of the opportunities that we have right now on the finances end.
Got it. Got it. All
All
right.
right, all right.
Okay.
Thanks for your
Yeah.
quest. Thanks for the question. Moving on to the next person. I'll get with you later, Frank.
All right. Thanks a lot, Cory.
No problem. Now we have Melvin. What's happening, Melvin?
What's going on, Corey? How you doing, man?
I'm great. Yourself?
Doing well, brother. Doing well.
How are you making out? Now, and you're a police officer, so how are you making out with the
Right
COVID?
with the covert,
Yeah,
with the COVID. Well, we're not doing covert right now. We're just doing COVID, but it's pretty much the same thing. We're not doing a lot of car stops right now. We're not doing a lot of car stops. Got to do that social distancing.
right. Well, how
Hmm.
is that working out? How is that working out though? Because I understand you say you're not doing a lot of car stops, but what about person to person uh interactions, or if you have a crime, if you have to arrest somebody, how is that
Hey,
working out?
we still doing what we got to do. We're still doing what we have to do. If we see something that's egregious, then we act on it. Car stops, burglaries, homicides, so on and so forth. So we're still doing exactly what we have to do. We're just making sure that we stay safe doing it.
Okay. So before I get to your question, I wanna point out one very important thing. If if you see me on the street and something happens, just remember
Right,
I didn't do it. It wasn't
right,
me.
right, right, right. Of
Okay.
course not.
Right. Okay. I just want to make
Right,
I didn't do it.
right, right. I hear that a lot.
And now you're a real estate investor. What type of investing are you doing right now?
It's a couple different things. I'm doing some holds. I'm doing some flips, and you name it. My thing is no money left behind.
Hmm.
So whatever I can do, I do it. So I'm trying to be smart in deciding what the property tells me and what's going on at that specific time. If the deal says is it something good enough for me to hold and keep on to, then that's what I do. If it looks better, if I need to flip it,
Hmm.
flip it. If I need to wholesale it. So no money left behind. It depends on the deal.
Okay. And what was the question that you had?
The question I had for you, Cory, right now in regards to, I'm looking to purchase a property now.
Hmm.
So for buyers, how is it affecting the sellers? How are the sellers being affected by the COVID?
Well, I've actually had a few rehabbers on, and also
Hmm.
I've been speaking with some of my other realtors and some of my other investors, and also just based off of some of the things that I'm doing. And it's really weird because we haven't seen a slowdown in the market.
Right. Okay.
I was looking at the numbers the other day, and I looked at the amount of properties, new listings that went live,
Hmm.
and it was about maybe almost 400 new listings that went live. But
Hmm.
that same day, you had almost 100 closed transactions, and then you had some other pending transactions. It's just where you would expect that it would be a slowdown in the market. It really hasn't been a slowdown in the market.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, uh,
Because that was my thought. Go ahead.
right? And then you have to also think about is a little different when we talk about retail versus the investor market as well,
Hmm.
because understand on the retail side, there's still limited inventory that we're looking at. Well, at least here in the Baltimore in the Maryland market, there's
Right.
still limited inventory on the retail side, but you still have people that's looking to buy, right?
Right. Okay.
How
Right.
however on the um on the investor side, of course, banks still have properties that they haven't released yet, the
Hmm.
foreclosures. You still have people that are still looking to sell that, the off market people, FISBOs and things like that. But
Right.
as far as that retail market, it's still we
Got you.
it's still moving.
Got you. Okay. Okay. That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
All right.
Okay. I appreciate it, brother.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Same.
Let's move on to the next. We have Mr. Tony Thomas.
What's
How's
going
everything,
on, my
sir?
brother?
How you
I'm
feel?
doing fantastic, my man. Fantastic.
So now tell the people who you are and what you do.
My name is Tony Thomas, and I'm a realtor. I have a real estate team. We're from VA to PA, so I have team members in Northern Virginia all the way up to York, Pennsylvania, and everything in between.
Okay. And how is business for you during the whole COVID-19? What have you seen so far?
Business is good. It's available for those who want it. I was speaking to my team this morning, and we were going over some market statistics, and I'll just give an example. So, like in the last, say, 25 days in Prince George's County,
Mm-hmm.
there were about 350 new homes that went on the market, and there were about 323, 324 new homes that went under contract in the last 25 days. So
Right.
that's telling us that people are still out and about looking
Mm-hmm.
and making decisions and making moves. So it's slowed down, but if you want to get the business, it's still out there for you.
Yeah. The last the last guest was actually asking. He was an investor, and he was asking about, has the market slowed down? And I haven't really seen I haven't seen a slowdown. You know, my
Hmm.
investors are still moving full speed ahead. I spoke
Hmm.
to, I was actually speaking to someone that does our short sales, and she said one of her agents, she's never seen anything like this. One of her agents that she's working with has like 45 deals
Hmm.
right now. For I'm
Hmm.
like, look, like
Yeah,
I'm, so it's definitely moving.
it's
But
a
what
blessing.
question? Definitely. What, and before I get to your question, what are you telling your team right now? What type of words of encouragement, or what are you telling your team to keep them moving forward?
Well, what we're focusing on right now is getting their routine, getting your routines down. Like, we are one of the fortunate industries where we can still get out and about and do what we need to do. Although there's some
Mm,
restrictions,
yeah.
it still hasn't stopped us from doing what we need to do. So you have to just keep things moving as if it were normal.
Hmm.
Actually, you have to work a little bit harder because of the conditions we're under, but do not stay stagnant.
Hmm.
And also inform uh, your buyers and sellers, your community. For me particularly, what I take at heart is when we have situations like this, our community is almost always taken advantage of.
Hmm.
Almost always. Like
Right.
when you take a look at the last market meltdown, the top two counties in the state of Maryland that had the highest foreclosure rates
Hmm.
were Prince George's County and Baltimore City,
Hmm.
which is no coincidence that we also have the highest African American population percentages in the state.
Right.
So we need to be out and about telling our buyers and sellers, giving them the information that they need to make really solid information and real good decisions. So I applaud what you're doing in this time and space, telling people all of the options and things that are available out there for them so that they can take advantage of the situation and not be taken advantage of. So
Thank you. I
that's where we're
appreciate that.
going.
Thank you.
Hmm.
And what question did you have?
Me, I'm a more on the logistical side. What areas are you hearing or seeing are actually moving? So if I am going to make some investments into real estate, what areas have you seen should we be focusing um, our research into?
You mean as far as like the different counties?
Location wise.
Okay.
Location wise.
Um, Definitely, I still see Baltimore City, Baltimore County, um, parts of Prince George's County, Montgomery County. Like I said, I really haven't seen a major slowdown in the areas that we normally work in. And like I said, I've been not just looking at the numbers, but also speaking to my investors as well. Now you have some investors that's kind of like, I'm a hold off to see what's going on, because they're not sure. But then you have those other investors is like full steam ahead. Like I was telling you about with my the short sale the short sale company that we use. They were saying the reason why they're having such success is because of the fact that it's not more foreclosures that's on the market. It's because people are home right now, and you have some people that still want and need to sell their homes, and that's pretty much that's one of the things that's driving that force. So like I said, in those different areas that we normally concentrate in, I haven't seen any change, any slowdown in those areas.
Have you seen a pivot between, pre-COVID-19? Maybe there was more movement into buy and hold. Have you seen it pivot to um, fix and flip, or are you seeing a certain sector of the investing kind of taking off right now?
I do see where some of the buy and hold investors are a little leery right now because of the whole thing in regards to they can't evict. So you have
Mm.
people that are not paying rent, or they're going to take advantage of that. But I think the other part with that is given the fact that there's also the moratorium on the foreclosures. So it's kind of a balance there. But then you have the fix and flip investors who are looking at it from from the perspective of, okay, if I buy a house today, and within it's going to take me about 3 months to fix their house. This thing should be over, not over, but at least it should be at a manageable rate where I guess the country is open back up and people can start paying rent and start paying their bills again. So if it's going to take 3 months, by the time I'm done this particular rehab, I should be right there and we should keep moving. But um, the other part is, remember, Section 8 is still making payments as well,
Yes, you're absolutely right about
right?
that. Right.
and and honestly, I think what's going to happen is, I think the other parts of that, I think they're going to end up, because I was reading something maybe last week, and I believe the government may require some of these landlords to actually take Section 8 where some of them weren't looking to do Section 8 tenants.
Mm, good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Hmm.
So I appreciate your question, and we'll talk later.
Absolutely.
All right. So let me bring on the next question here. And is that Jose?
Yes, sir.
How's everything, sir?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good.
So tell first, welcome to the show, and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm an investor. Um, Pretty much use my HELOC to buy my properties, and even in this economy, whatever, I'm actually having a good time and trying to cop a couple before it's all over.
Now, are you a beginning invest? Are you beginner investor, or are you have you been investing for some time?
Actually, I'm a beginner.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have one property now. I'm working on the second one.
Okay. And what was the question? What was your question?
All right, my question for you was due to the economic downturn from this pandemic, I know the government is pushing for people not to pay their rents and mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
My concern comes in from an aspect of a beginner landlord on
Mm-hmm.
how to collect that type of money because my tenants are not Section 8.
Right.
So, how does that, should I skip them a month and allow them to have that one free month since I'm gonna have them for a longer time?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I defer the payments, or should I keep it as is and then wait for a request when they need the help?
Well, first, I would definitely do your due diligence with your tenants in the beginning. That's whether pandemic or no pandemic. Do your diligence with your tenants in the beginning. And I mean, from that perspective, most people want to pay their bills, right?
Hmm.
Most responsible people, they want to pay their bills. They're not going in to a situation where they're saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go move because I may not be able to pay for a couple of months," right? Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I tell my investors who are landlords, if if a if a tenant messes up your house, or if they're just not a good rent, you know, a good tenant paying their rent, a lot of times that falls on us as the investor because we did not do our due diligence, right? Um, that means that make sure that they are still working when they give those pay stubs. Verify
Yeah.
verify their job. Um, Make sure that they are able to make the payments every month based off of their income. Normally, you're looking at 2.5, maybe three times the amount of the rent. Make sure that you still are able to do those things. Look at their credit. Make sure that credit is to the standards that you need them. Even though sometimes, you know, sometimes somebody might have not so good credit, but they have they have good rental history, right?
Yes.
Which is another thing. Also verify, like, do your due diligence in verifying their residency where they're living now. Um, and I mean, I hate to say it, for me, if it don't look right, you know how you have the tenants and or the people who are applying and they're saying, yeah, I live here, and it turns out they're living with their cousin and the house is owned by someone else. Just use your, just use your own judgment in those situations. You know, but um, but like I said, and for the most part, a lot of people want to pay their bills. They want to pay their rent because they know after this is over, they have to have some place to live. You know.
Yep, yep.
So that's
One
that's
more question.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for the deferred payments, how would that work? With I understand deferring the payments and having them pay later on. Do you tack that on like a portion of the months you deferred onto the current month,
Mhm.
or how would that work? Like, I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
I just
you
heard a
could
lot about it, so I wasn't sure on how that would work.
right and understand all of these things is new to everybody, right? So
Okay,
we gotta pivot. We gotta do different things. So if I were to defer a payment, right, and you're if that's a month that you need to make up for the rest of the year, what I would do, just take that month that you deferred, and either have them pay through the course of uh the year,
gotcha.
divided by 11, or
Hmm.
you know maybe you could just say, you know what, I give you this free month because for whatever reason, um
Gotcha.
or just make it up down the road as you possibly raise rents. But the other part said that, but you said you're not accepting Section 8, because I think part of the bill that they're looking at, that if they require that you accept Section 8, part of the bill that they're looking at is you're not able to raise rents for like the next 5 years or something like that. I'm still researching some things, but I'm just giving out the information that I've seen so far.
Well, that's good. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I should, but I didn't. So
I mean,
it's
they
so much. There's so much they passing with these bills. It's hard to keep up. That's a full-time job in itself
yeah,
that I don't have because I work full time.
right.
So when I hear it from you, it's like, wow, I didn't know that. It's something for me to think about and look into.
Right. And I'll be honest. I don't have all the answers. Some of the information I'm reading. I'm reading every morning. I'm having conversations with different people, and that's really part of the purpose of this show, to get out that
Mhm.
information. That's why I don't sit up here and just say all of these things, because I don't want to seem like the know-it-all. There's other people with different aspects or different experiences, different information that we can put out there, just to make sure that the people have what they need. The information
Gotcha.
they what they need.
Yep. Well, I'm glad
You
I
know,
called.
I appreciate it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
All right.
So that was the quick Q&A. A few people actually asked me, could I answer some questions, and I said, well, how about I just put it on the show and get those? Because I'm pretty sure some people have some of the same questions, so I hope I answered those questions for you. Um, the other thing I want to do today is, I've had different investors or different people with different aspects, different experiences, um, with real estate through COVID-19. And some of the other conversations that I'm having with my lenders, my hard money lenders, my mortgage lenders, my partners that we do the seminars for real estate into retirement, and just some of my other creative finance lenders that we have these conversations. What I'm finding out is there's a lot of other opportunities that's not really being talked about like that. And I want to at least introduce you guys to some of those opportunities, or talk about some of the things that you may not know about. Um, so I put some slides together, but someone asked me a question. I just had to bring it up. Um, one of the opportunities that we've been talking about, it and everything I'll speak about after this could actually fall under this category, or you could pivot and go different ways with that. Um, so one of those opportunities is being a private money lender. If you have access to if you have access to funds, which I'm gonna talk about the access that you may have to these funds in a moment, but if you have access to funds, then you can actually become a private money lender. Why would you want to become a private money lender? Let's say you have money sitting in your retirement, right? And in that retirement, you'll probably make, let's say, 3% per year. And someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking to do a deal with this property." Of course, make sure you vet them if you don't already know them, and go through that whole process. But someone comes to you and they'll say, "Hey, I want to do a deal." They show you the numbers, and let's say I'm able to give you 10% back on your money in 6 months. If it's sitting in your retirement, right, and you're able to make 10% off of your money from working versus it's just sitting there in 6 months versus 3% in 12 months, why not? Because now if that person needs to do it again, hey, there's a chance you can make 20% off your money instead of um just that 3%. Here's the other part. When you become a private money lender in the real estate sector, that means that you could be a private money lender for a fix and flip, a commercial project, or a buy and hold project. Why would you do something like that? In a fix and flip project, once that project is over, now they're able to pay you back the money that they borrowed from you plus the 10% or whatever you guys negotiated for to be the return on your investment. If you're looking at the commercial, right, from the commercial perspective, and someone has money into, let's say, an apartment building, and you have your money sitting in that apartment building. Now you've just created a opportunity to have passive money coming in on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis because your money is sitting in a hard asset. Or if you're looking at buy and hold, meaning you have a residential landlord who's buying single properties or maybe four units or less in a property. If you're looking at it from that perspective, that that particular investor is able to purchase the property and fix the property if it needs repair, and then in most cases they're going to refinance to because they're fixing it at market value. Now they're going to refinance to pull the equity out of that property. If you're the private money investor, what happens is you're using your money to either help with the rehab or help with the acquisition or even both, and then they go to refinance, pay your money back plus your return on investment. So that's one opportunity that we have right now. Now, how how can we do that? As I explained before, right now because of the CARES Act, if you have money in your 401k, your 403b, or even your IRA, normally what happens is if you pull that money out before you're about 59 and a half or that reach that certain age, if you pull your money out before that, you're actually um, charged a penalty, and it's normally around 10%, right? Right now, because of the CARES Act, if you there are allowing you to pull out 100,000 or less and you can pull out 100% of your money up to 100,000 with no penalty. So now if you're worried about your retirement, your 401k, or this is the opportunity for you to actually get into some of these other investments or grow your money in a way. And of course, you can put it back. So versus when I have conversations with certain buyers, certain investors, and we talk about the option of 401k, 403bs, and things like that. The the first thing they say is, "But what about the penalty?" There is no penalty. and you're able to do this through 2020. And then what's happening is the tax implications, they're allowing you to pay those taxes back over a 3-year period. Now, the other parts of that, as I was explaining to another caller who had called in, the other part, there's two different ways that you could do that. You can just pull the money out, and that will be considered as income. That's why they're taxing you on the money. Or you could actually do a 4K four. Oh, I can't get my words out. A 401k loan is what I'm trying to say. And the difference between you pulling out your money out your 401k and actually using it as a loan, the difference between that is, if you just pull the money out, you're pulling your own money out, so you're not required to pay that back. However, and that's why you're able to get taxed on it, because now they would consider that as income. However, you're not taxed on loans. So if you're doing a 401k loan and you are required to pay that back, but you're not going to be taxed on it unless you don't pay it back within the 5-year period that they're giving you. And at that moment, and once that happens, then you'll be taxed on that amount. Um, so some of the, like I said, these are just some of the opportunities that this situation is that we have right now in COVID-19. Um, I actually I spoke with a I spoke with one of my lenders, and it was Eric Stewart, and we spoke on, what's today? Today is Friday, so we spoke on Monday. Gotta get my days right, right? So we spoke on Monday, and what he told me was his company, at some point soon, they're gonna bring back the no doc or low doc loans. Why why did people get excited? My phone, people start texting me. They started calling me, Cory, how can I get down? And why is that so special? I'm gonna tell you why. Normally, what happens is, when you purchase a home, there's certain information that the bank needs to have: your income, your employment, just all of these different documents that the um, the lender needs to have. And what happens is, sometimes we don't always have our documents together, especially for my self-employed buyers, my self-employed investors. A lot of times our documentation is not all that great. And now we have to go through other ways to obtain properties. Now you have this no or low doc loan opportunity that's coming back. Um, and the credit, all you're looking at that point is your credit requirement. And he's not sure what the credit requirement is going to be. But before, when they had that credit requirement, it was about 640. He's not sure if it's going to be raised to 680, but right now it was at 640 before. Um, now now you're able to purchase a home a little easier with something like that. Now, there are some people who are a little worried about that, because that was part of those loans were the contributed to the crash in 2008 and things like that. But I would advise, make sure you do all your homework on these particular loans or these particular opportunities, because of the fact that I just want you to be successful, as successful as you can. So make sure that's something that could work for you. Make sure you have all the details. Um, one of the last things I am going to talk about, which a lot of people don't really talk about, or let alone a lot of people don't really know. You actually check your life insurance policies. I'm going to say that again. Check your life insurance policies. Why? Because some of your life insurance policies, you're actually able to borrow against your life insurance policies, right? There's actually a an SBA loan product now called 7A Express. And with that 7A Express, they're allowing you to use your life insurance policy as collateral in order to get an SBA loan. A lot of people are talking about the PPP, but not many people are talking about the 7A Express. In addition to that, you can borrow against your life insurance policy, and your life insurance policy can be your personal bank because they don't have the same requirements. Um, so, what are the takeaways in in dealing with your life insurance policy? Right, the restrictions you do have some restrictions, but the restrictions aren't the same as when you're dealing with the bank. We're not talking about your credit. We're not talking about is you have to specifically do something like for specifically use the money for, let's say, college. And if you don't use it for college, here's the penalty. No, if you have enough, and then you can actually buy a business, buy whatever you want, which means that you can also take that and invest in real estate. You can also become your own bank. There are some hard money lenders who are actually lending their money, and some of that there is coming out of their life insurance policies. Um, so, and what happens is if you have a if you have a whole life or a universal life, they build equity into those policies, and and it builds a cash value, and that's why you're able to loan or borrow against those life insurance policies. So that's another way that you can actually be a cash buyer and invest in real estate, especially during this time. Um, and another thing that I didn't put up there, I thought I did, but another option is using unsecured lines of credit. There are companies and banks out there that's actually that's actually giving unsecured lines of credit. I have a friend in Chicago, and he does a lot of creative lending, and he has relationships with different banks, and they're able to get anywhere between 150 up to $350,000 in unsecured lines of credit. And what is an unsecured line of credit? An unsecured line of credit is something that's not backed by any type of collateral. For instance, many of us have credit cards in our pockets, and we didn't put any money down in order to get this credit card. They just approved us for our credit card. That's an unsecured line. That's an unsecured line of credit versus a secured line where they say, well, put this $300 here, and then um, put this $300 here, and this is how you can obtain your credit or obtain that particular line. Um, so there are there are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that you had advantage of or to take advantage of to do research to make sure that in this particular climate that we're in, we can win. You know, um, people are still buying houses, investors are still investing, some people are holding up, but when you have hard money lenders who are some are saying, I'm gonna just wait a bit. But if you can actually take the things that you have and become a cash buyer, where you don't have to worry about the lenders, or you don't have to worry about those, or become your own lender, taking some of these things that I'm telling you right now and become an actual cash buyer, now things become a little different for you. Um, Normally, I have a guest on here, and we're chopping it up and going all these many different places and things like that. Um, but I wanted to answer some of those questions that I was getting on a regular basis. And if you are on the broadcast right now, and if you have any questions about what I've just talked about, or just any questions in general, make sure you put them in the comment section, and I can answer them for you. Hey, Danny, I see you over there. Hey, Cherie, and I see Sherry as well. Leah. Um, Hey, what's up, Terry? What's up, Chi? Just a few people that's on the broadcast here. But yeah, I definitely wanted to get those questions answered because since this is the ninth episode of the series, and since I've been doing it, I've been getting people texting me, emailing me, and calling me about some of the questions and some of the things that we talked about on the show. And I just wanted to make sure that I could at least get those questions answered. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all the guests on at one time to answer them for you, but I can at least, answer some of the questions that you guys have. Um, with that being said, if you guys have any other questions and you want to get in contact with me, you can go. I'll give you two things to do. You can go follow me on IG, and that's Agent Cory Banks 007, or you can actually email me at agentcorybanks@gmail.com. And for any past shows that you've missed, I will be posting clips of the shows, of the different shows, through the different social medias that I have. But if you missed any past shows, go to my YouTube channel, Agent Cory Banks, and just get caught up and make sure you get that information. So with that being said, I appreciate everyone. Well, let me see. I see I have some other people that just joined, just to make sure they don't have any questions while I'm here. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about anything that we talked about, please put them in the comment section or just any comments and put them in the comment section. We can talk about them. Okay. Well, with that being said, um, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all my guests that's been on the show today with all of their questions. And I hope you guys can take something away from some of the opportunities that I've given today with that really some of these opportunities have been there, but some have been presented because of COVID-19. So I hope you guys can take that and utilize some of these opportunities because at the end, I want to see everybody win. With that being said, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday at 4. And I'm out. Have a great weekend.